Okay guys, well, I'm back down here at the Myakkahatchee Park. I'm right here at the trailhead entrance to Livelong Trail. I skipped the usual walk, from the park, or from the famous bridge up through Powerline Trail. There was a lot of people. This is the day after, it's Friday 26th, November 26th. The day after Thanksgiving, a lot of people down here. So, and I really didn't want to be recording, with all the families and kids and stuff running around. So, I just waited till I got on the trail here, on the service trail. I'm walking up the service trail right now. Long story short, I was supposed to be in Ohio enjoying the holidays and cold, balmy, 30-degree temps with my family. Unfortunately, a bunch of them have gotten sick in the past week. And then we had a looming possible labor strike at the Tampa airport. So in the 9th hour, I basically canceled my flight. And I spent Thanksgiving with family down here in beautiful, sunny, 75-degree temps in Florida. So that wasn't a bad thing either. Disappointed I couldn't go up north, but had a good time down here. Like I said, it's just absolutely, the weather has been gorgeous. So with that being said, obviously we know, we had a press release a couple days ago, on the cause of death by a firearm. The crazy thing about all this is, the attorney comes out and says this should bring closure to the family, both families. Wrong. If anything, you've done nothing but raised more questions. I just don't get this nonsense, but I just feel so bad for the Petito and the Schmidt family. But maybe they know what the real truth is. I'm sure law enforcement is probably a little more open with them. They may know much more of this story than the general public does. Let's hope so. They've had 3 opportunities to address the firearm since Brian's been missing. When he went missing, they never mentioned a firearm was involved, with him missing, which could have been a whole different situation. If he gets possibly cornered or scared, that's putting other people at risk. Then when they found the remains, there was no mention of a firearm. And then in this autopsy report from the anthropologist, there's a mention of a gunshot wound to the head, self-inflicted, but once again, no mention of a firearm. So now we're back to the question, where's this firearm? Which, as most of you know, that's been the number one question all over the internet, all over just in general public. Where is this firearm? I've got quite a few theories on that, but I'm going to go with that I really feel like the parents retrieved that firearm. I think that gun was found within a day or two of Brian taking his life. I think there was negotiations through their attorney with the FBI, because they were possibly in trouble, which I'm sure they would have been, messing with a crime scene like that, and that would be hiding evidence and whatnot. So I really feel like that they probably retrieved. I feel like they came up here. Brian went missing on the 13th. I feel like the parents, or at least the father did, came up here the following day, found him, called the attorney. The attorney says there's a lot of liability with that gun laying there. Take the gun, get rid of it, do something with it. Don't leave that lay there. Because if somebody finds that gun and then ends up it goes off and shoots them, or it's used in another crime. Now, you know, their attorney's looking at this, just all the liability behind this. So the gun was probably retrieved. They probably left his, you know, remains up here. It was probably advised to just leave his body lay up here, because at that time that was still early enough that I'm sure there was still bruising, scratches, that type of evidence from a struggle. And they made the decision, as morbid as it is and as crazy as that sounds, but I'm really starting to believe that's what took place here. None of this is making sense. And the more they come out with stuff, the more questions they raise. I really feel like that at some point, you know, and this may end up, the only way we're going to get the answers, you know, the Petitos and Schmitz, the parents of Gabby, I get the sense that they probably know more than we do. And, you know, they were asked not to speak, comment. That means they probably know some of this. And I think where we're going to get our answers is probably through something legally with the Gabby's parents filing something against the Laundries. And that's when all this information is going to come out. You know, it'll all be brought out that they basically covered up, probably helped, you know, Brian run from law enforcement, and then the initial cover up with his death. I really think that's what's probably going to happen. And until then, we're just all going to be left in the dark on this. There's still the issue, you know, of where the firearm is. My thinking is they came up here, they retrieved it, they disposed of it somewhere, possibly in this park. I'd say there's maybe a 5 to 10% chance that that gun is in this park. Did they possibly go back up to DeSoto and ditch it in the water? Is that possibly, you know, that way the gun's clear up there, and then this, you know, the remains, the body was down here, hoping that would just, you know, they never dreamed that some fisherman would drag in a gun out of the water. So that's a possibility. But you know, or did they ditch the gun up here, and that's why they, you know, it was just 2 weeks ago that I had seen the laundry truck in the parking lot. What are they down here looking for? So maybe they ditched it, thinking we'll just retrieve it later, and now they've kind of forgotten where it is. It's been 2 weeks though, so, and I only come down once a week. So whatever it is they were looking for that day, they could have possibly been in here and found it by now. So I'm just going to kind of come back up and go, you know, once again, you're pretty much going to just see everything we've been showing for the last month in these videos. We'll just kind of go over everything again. We are now in the crime scene area. I just want to walk back here quick. This is where, back here, I walked right past it, and I was going to mention it, so I'm going to do it now. This is definitely where Chris went in. It was right here. It was right here, and that's the path that he went through. Right there. And that takes you directly back to where that pinned, silver pin location was with the numbers, crime circle numbers, back there in the field. A lot of people down here. Haven't seen anybody up here yet, so but I really think that's probably what took place. They probably ditched it, and then they were up here trying to figure out where they threw some, you know, whether it was a gun or some other items that might have been incriminating. We just don't know. But they were up here. They weren't up here mourning. They were mourning their son that first week he went missing. I'm convinced of that. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of rambling like I always do. I'm going to try to ramble with a little more sense, hopefully. Just things that I think I've, now once again, this is all speculation. I can totally be wrong on all this. But I really think, as far as so is there a weapon still laying up here? I'd say there's maybe a 10% chance that there is. Where it is, I've got a couple ideas, so I'm going to check those out today, and I'll maybe go into that later when I get there so I can explain it. Okay, there's the tree swing entrance. Like I said, when you're standing here on the trail, that's very close over there. Very, very close. And then we'll walk up here to where the tents and stuff were from the crime scene. So I'm going to jump off the gun thing for right now. Maybe I'll jump back on. But in further looking at the flyover footages and stuff, really looking into all that from the 21st, I really feel like now, I know I kept putting the tree swing, and I still feel the tree swing has some play in this, and it quite could be possibly that's where things went down. It does make sense, and then things could have ended up over here. But as far as where the body was actually found, the remains, whatever those remains can, whether it was a full skeleton with clothing or a partial skull, nobody's really said that yet, so I just don't know. Up there, they mowed this last week when I was down here, so you got a nice wide path up there. I really feel like this is where the remains, and I'll go into that, why I feel that. I feel like the remains were laying right here, right ahead in front of these roots somewhere, right in here. I'm almost very positive that's where they were, and I'll tell you why, because in further researching my aerial footage that I have, when they first reported the remains found, there was a white tent sitting about right, here's that opening where the helicopter would fly through. I want to say the white tent was probably right in this area. Later on in that footage, I then see a blue tent on the front side of the white tent, and then later on they put up a black tent. So you'll see 3 tents in a row right in this area. A black tent, white tent, and a blue tent. Blue tent was probably over top of the remains. The white tent would have been kind of like where they had their stuff set up, their supplies, and then the black tent, same kind of thing. There was 3 tents in a row right here, right on this spot. That tells me this is where because they're not going to set these tents up if the remains are clear back there in that field, that pinned location, the silver pin. They would have went back there and set their tent up. This was definitely where the medical examiner had all his equipment set up, was right here. So that tells me those remains were laying in here, which then makes sense because right down there is where the first evidence circle, and then about 30 feet down from that's a second evidence circle, and then over there about 40 feet a third one. And that would be due to this canal, drainage canal. That would be due to the stuff floating. It quite possibly could have been that, Brian walked up here, simply stood in the middle of the trail, nowhere to go, probably in panic mode. I don't think this was probably a long, drawn-out thing, like looking for a, nice place or whatever, looking for a, somber place. I don't know the word we were using there earlier, but I think he walked up here. This is where he decided, and he quite possibly probably the parents found him right out here on the trail. They could have possibly moved him just to kind of seclude him a little bit and laid him in under there. It's a nice, kind of tranquil area. But it could have been they found him here and they just took the firearm, took some other items, and then left called their attorney. Attorney told him just to leave things go, get that firearm out of there for liability reasons. You don't want that thing showing up in another crime scene somewhere else or shooting somebody, a kid or something. And then, you know, the body, you know, when the water got high, it kind of floated down this way a little bit, got hung up on these roots. And then the rest of the items, like the backpack, notebook, some of that stuff ended up down in, you know, down further, which we'll walk. So I'm really starting to feel like I probably got this part of this right. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. And that won't bother me one bit. But right here's the area, and I feel like it was right here is where they found the remains. I really feel like this is it. It makes sense. It kind of ties and makes more sense than anything we've come up with so far. And the fact that the medical, you know, they had 3 tents lined up right here, it just all makes sense. They were working right here. This is where they were doing their work. And like I said, we found little bits and pieces of, you know, latex gloves in this area when we first came down the first day. So I really feel like that was probably what took place. I feel like, I don't even know what I was going to say there, but we'll walk back here to this direction. You know, you do definitely have all, you know, and like I said, the tree swing is just right over there in that clearing over there. You know, so it is possible, you know, due to the water levels, things would have floated this way. And, you know, something could have went down over there. But I'm really starting to think he just basically got out of the Mustang, walked up this trail, service trail, live-long service access trail, and right there is where it happened. You know, and then we had items float back here. First crime circle. Now, one thing I want to say is it's very dry up here again. Down when I was walking up power line, since I didn't have the camera on, you're not going to see it. You can actually see muddy ground out there in that swamp. So I was a little surprised because I thought that would be deeper and lower in there, and it's not really. So that was a little surprising. It's very dry, so if somebody wanted to go walk out in these swamps, I'm not going to. But if somebody wanted to, you would probably be able to get out there pretty far at this point. Okay, it looks like somebody might have been up here, because I'm trying to find the first crime circle. Wait, it might be over here. Yeah, here's the sticks. I think it's right in here. I won't spend, yeah, right here's the orange paint. Okay, orange spray paint, still see orange spray. See if I can find the pin again. This pin was sticking up a little higher, so we should be able to see it if nobody's pulled it out yet. I don't see it though. But I'm not going to say it's been pulled out because I said that the last time and then they ended up being, here it is. No, that's a leaf. Okay, well we know this is the, I don't see the pin. Yeah, I don't see it. I'll probably walk back here again then to be able to find it, but just a quick thing, but we do still have remnants of orange paint. Right here, you can see it. See the orange paint? Orange paint. So, we're in the general vicinity. I don't see the stake though. And that stake was actually sticking up a good inch or so. So we'll walk back down to here, to this one. Boy, is it warm. I wore pants today. My legs have just been taking a beating. But the briars and the red ants up here. Okay, I see orange paint. Now this pin, if you guys remember, I accidentally hit it last week with the stick, which was crazy. But am I going to get that lucky again? I don't know. Boy, the mosquitoes are just all over me. Well, we can see the orange paint. See it? A couple leaves here with orange paint. That pin, once again, I'm not going to claim that the pins have been removed because I said that the last time and then I ended up finding them. So, but this is roughly the area. If anybody sees the pin, you can point it out, but I don't see it. I was thinking it was... Boy, the mosquitoes are just thick. This is crazy. I don't see it. I don't see the pin. That doesn't mean it's not in here. It's just I don't see it. Okay, we're going to walk across. Here's the drainage thing. I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to shut the camera off and then turn it back on. Walk over to the third, which is right. See, we tied it right here. You can definitely still see the orange spray paint scattered around right here. So we've once again, what, six-ish weeks later, a month and 6 days later, we can still see remnants of orange paint. So I'm going to shut down, swat some of these mosquitoes, and then I'll turn back on.